Hello, everybody. And I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, um, but actually recently my mom asked me to go back to doing them, and uh, because she said they were really helpful, and I realized when I thought about it that I actually missed doing them, and they were really helpful for me because they helped me kind of track what was going on throughout the year. These videos are a way that I've been able to track the transits of the gates. If you're new to me, that is the movement of the gates through the sun placements in human design. So, if you want to know more about human design and what the hell I'm talking about when I say all of that, you're welcome to follow me, learn more. You can also follow Embodied Leadership by Design, and where Meghan O'Malley and I talk a lot about human design and its possibility. We have a podcast called the Embodied Leadership Lounge, and you can listen to different episodes there that really take us deeper into these things. But in these videos, my goal is to kind of talk about what's going on, the energy of the week. We transit, there's 64 gates in human design. They correlate to the I Ching from Chinese medicine, and we transit them a little bit faster than 1 week at a time, right? So we go through the whole 64 in 1 year. And so this is a way for us to just kind of feel into the collective energy of that, similar to astrology readings, right? But this is specifically around the gates in human design. So as of August, so I'm going to jump right in. So as of August 11th, this is 2025, we moved into gate 4, which I should say this because it's been a while. I tend to go back and look at the traditional human design, the gene key, which is Ra Uru Hu, the gene keys, which is Richard Rudd, and then also the quantum human design, which is Karen Curry Parker. And sometimes I'll even go all the way back to the I Ching, although that's and because I think if you know me, you know I came from more of a 5 elements background, which comes from Chinese medicine, which comes from the I Ching. And so but for this gate, I didn't really need to go further than the gene keys, because it's so well said by Richard Rudd in his book called The Gene Keys. So basically, when we're looking at one of these gates, we're looking at that all gates have a lower expression or a disempowered expression or a shadow. We could say all gates have a gift. The gift that this gate brings us, the gift also helps us navigate the shadow. And then what Richard calls the city state, SIDDHI, and that is the transcendent state, right? Our highest potential, where we're going with it. And so you can see how the I Ching, and then as it is translated as the gene keys, is really about a journey to our highest self, right? It's a way for us to begin to see how, as humans, we're playing out these shadows again and again, and how we can grow, how we can maneuver and move through. And I'm coming to you on August 13th, and I'm going to guarantee you that probably the last few weeks have been a little crunchy in your life. Like there's been a lot of energy that's been challenging. This year in general has been challenging for a lot of people. It's been bringing up a lot of shadow individually and for the collective of us as humans. And so we're really being asked to look at the patterns of what's playing out globally, let's say, and how those themes of anger and injustice or whatever is happening is playing out for us, and what we can do individually to help transmute some of that energy for the collective, right? And so this particular gate, we're in gate 4, and it's the gate of intolerance. So it's named by its shadow, right? So we're going to look first at intolerance, and then the gift of this gate is understanding, and the city state of this gate is then forgiveness. It is one of the sacred gates in the sense of like forgiveness is one of those high potential gene keys, and you can learn more about that, the 7 sacred seals, through Richard Rudd's work. But today I'm just going to focus on this gate. So let's just talk about the shadow of intolerance. It's so funny how when I do these videos, it's pretty typical that it's playing out in my life in some kind of way. And this gate definitely has been at play following some other big adjustments that have happened over the last week or two as we've been transiting some gates in some crunchy astrology, right? And so on August 11th, Mercury went direct, and we moved into this gate, right? So let's look at the energy of intolerance. Most people don't want to be identified as an intolerant person, right? I certainly don't. We want to think that we're inclusive and thoughtful and all the things that tend to get globbed on to intolerance. But the truth is that the energy of intolerance is pretty, we're like Richard Rudd says, we're barely tolerant of our neighbors, of people, right? Like it doesn't take much for us to drop into anger and irritation. And so intolerance is really this energy of being easily provoked, right? Like it's like or maybe not so easily, but it's provocation, right? Being provoked, being irritated, it leads to thought processes like it's associated with the neocortex, so really our thinking mind, and it's this gate in particular is in the mind center in the chart, and so it is about thinking, right? It's about what I'm thinking, what I'm focused on, and the mental constructs that I'm coming up with, and it's governed by reason and reasons. So if we think about like when that's the dilemma of this gate, right? It's like what it on in its shadow level, it wants us to find the reason. Like if something is agitating us or irritating us or angering us, we want to go into it and we want to figure out the reason, so that we can name it, so we can blame it, so we can judge it, so we can say it's right or wrong or good or bad. All of that is generated by the mind, right? It's a construct. And so it's like, in some ways, this gate is looking to blame. It's looking to name something, but often it's so it can blame something in its shadow, right? It wants to find the reason. And it can get a lot of pressure. It can have a lot of pressure on it to find a reason. In fact, it is kind of the foundation of what science, or modern science, is really based on, not in the shadow, but like the wanting to understand why. There's a deep curiosity in this gate, this drive for answers, right? And so not always open curiosity, like wonder, but just like, I need to know, I'm searching for an answer. And so science has been kind of based in that, especially if we look at material sciences that have been breaking down the physical senses of this world and trying to understand it at a cellular level or at a molecular level. And it's really interesting because the deeper that science has been digging, science as we understand it, the more it digs into how the universe works, what's going on, it's led to a whole field of science, like quantum physics, which really brings us back to the concept that we really don't know anything. It's all really possibility and wonder. The foundation of quantum physics is that it's all one kind of massive field of energy, and we don't really understand it. It's very difficult to understand. And if you want to learn more about kind of the quantum physics side of what we're beginning to understand, that there's like this fabric of reality that is kind of one massive energy, definitely go learn more. You can send me a message. I certainly have videos on it in places that I can send you. And there's definitely research out there. Dr. Amit Goswami is a good place to start. He's a physicist who makes the concepts of quantum physics really accessible, right? And so, but really when we get to this deeper level of understanding with quantum physics, that there's some fabric of reality. And Dr. Amit Goswami calls that consciousness, and so does Richard Rudd. So we're beginning to say that there's this there's this infinite field of possibility. And we're starting in our consciousness, even in kind of mass consciousness, to understand that there is some correlation between this field of possibility and how we perceive it, how we download it, how we run it through our brain, how that changes how we think, how that changes how we have our neurochemistry and our hormones. It changes how we emote energy in the body, and how we feel, and eventually even our cellular biology. There's a connection to all of it, right? And so that brings us into the gift of this gate, which is really the gift of understanding. And when we're really in the gift of understanding, what we understand is that we really that we almost know nothing, right? Like that we don't need judgments. We don't need to pin it on a reason. We don't need reasons. We just understanding comes from this realm of possibility, and it comes through the heart, not the head, right? It's like we're opened up to understanding. We're opened up to the concept of like we don't need to take things personally when we're defining things, when we're trying to find the reason. It's so that we can personally say how it's hurting us, or how something or someone is hurting us. But this gate opens the heart and says there's nothing to know, there's nothing to reason out there. And that really kind of points to the 4 agreements, which is the first one is, to not take things personally. And that's really the gift of this gate, and that's what we're really working through. Can you imagine a world in which we were not seeking the answers for the reasons why, but we were just living into a state of understanding that people can't hurt us from there, that the words and actions, we don't need to understand the reasons. And that's been, one of my, like, if it's been big in my realm in the last week. And I'm curious if it's been up for you, if you've been feeling like you've been trying to figure something out, and understanding that as a head gate, we're really not, the brain isn't really here to figure things out, right? It's to serve kind of this concept of like processing possibility. The body actually sends us the signals of what is right for us, what we need, what's in alignment for us. And when we're really tuning in to that information coming from the body, what is right for us, what's the right next decision, what's the right next thing that we're doing, then we use the mind to kind of begin to ask what's possible for that, right? And so the brain then serves this body knowing. And we've been kind of reversed for a long time, where we think we have to get in our heads, we have to figure everything out first, and then we'll move. And it's a little bit opposite than that, and that's Karen Curry Parker's work in quantum human design is really about we're all kind of evolving at different states, but there's this extra, like, as we really unpack the work, we're moving to this quantum state. That's why quantum human design. And so that's why Karen calls this the gate of possibility, right? It's like, we're learning to embrace imagination and possibility, and we're learning to let the power of our imagination guide us, to ask us like, if we're going to reach for something, if we're going to reach into possibility, we have to move beyond being reactive to other people. We have to move beyond even the concept of understanding. And we have to live in a realm of this connection to possibility, this quantum field of consciousness, right? And that's where those things come from. So it's like, and we know that now. We know now scientifically through quantum physics that it's through this quiet connection to this field that we can begin to work with what is possible for us, and to begin to actually physically manifest it into the realm of the material world, so that we can, so that it can serve our purpose, right? So that we can be out there being who we're meant to be. So then at the city state of this gate is about, it's forgiveness, right? But at that level, when we get to forgiveness, it's like, after you've understood that understanding comes from the heart, it comes from this infinite field of possibility, and it comes from no judgment, then you understand that forgiveness is really about self-compassion. And there's nothing to forgive, right? That's the kind of the both and the paradox inside of forgiveness is that there is no such thing as a need for forgiveness, because everything is perfect as it is. Everything is that it is already forgiven, right? And it is forgiven through our not taking things personally, and are not being triggered by our own story, by our own past, into creating reasons why something is right or wrong. Now, all of that said, that's the acidic state. That's where we're headed as humans, is that it's kind of living beyond the state of intolerance. And we're not there, right? What we're seeing globally is a lot of intolerance. We're actually seeing probably, we actually have front row seats to quite a bit of intolerance, at least in this country, but I know it's not just here. And so, so this is a wake up call, right? Like when the gates come around, it's a moment in time in which we're being asked. I can't fix what's going on the global level, and I'm not meant to necessarily. That's not my role. But my role is to look at where am I on that scale of intolerance? Who am I not tolerating? Who am I judging? Who am I making wrong so that I can be right? What situations am I intolerant of? What am I judging? What am I irritated by? What are my frustrations? Where is my anger? And how can I transmute those intolerances and those irritations through the gift of understanding, through opening my heart and recognizing that we are all one big, massive, connected energy, and that I can't be separate from, and so it's through that understanding and through, again, those 4 agreements that we can really begin to transmute our own intolerance, right? So as above, so below is one of those concepts in spiritual teachings, but also in quantum physics. And this is a really great gate for us to work through. So if we're seeing it out there, the goal is to see where it is in here, and how can we ask for forgiveness where we can see where we've been wrong, and we need to bring our own compassion and awareness and to someone, or how can we be in forgiveness through understanding there's nothing to forgive. So forgiveness can sometimes be one of those words that it's like, I need you to forgive me, or I need to forgive you in order to move forward. And remembering that forgiveness is a state, it's not an action, right? It's a state of being. And so, because it takes intolerance out, right? And so just remembering that it eliminates any place where there's a victim in this story, right? And so if you're living into a story where you are the victim to some circumstance, then this is an opportunity. We have the opportunity, while we're highlighting this gate, to transmute that, to get bigger than that, to see it from a bigger perspective, to see it from possibility and connection instead of our limited view. And if we were all doing that, it could really change the world. Now, I'm not saying that there are not systems in place that are that make it really hard for us to be in a state of understanding and forgiveness and not in intolerance. And that is part of the work. The part of the inner work is like, it's learning to stand for what we believe in and to be our highest self, and less standing against what we don't believe in and judging and pointing fingers at others, right? So you can't control what has already happened, or even really what is happening outside of you. You can only control your own reaction. Now, I know most of you, that's not new information, except it isn't, maybe you need to hear it again, right? Like I definitely do, right? So it's like this gate is asking us to not stand against everything out there and push against it, or have irritations and frustrations with it. We're here to transmute our own personal challenges, our own stories, and live our highest being. So if you're someone who's walking the world as almost an ascended master and has no real emotional beef or physical beef or mental beef or spiritual beef with anybody around you, then congratulations. But for the rest of us, and that I really mean the rest of us that still have skin on our body, because as long as we are still moving our consciousness through these physical bodies, we all have work to do. And this is one of the gates that we're working with. So, okay, I think you guys have the sense of what this means. So it's really like your work as you take this gate into looking at it, how it's playing out for you this week, and really, really taking the time, to ask yourself, like, are there places where I'm really angry? Are there places where I'm being provoked? by my outer realm, and what is it that I need to go in and heal for myself? How do I need to understand something from a bigger perspective? How do I need to bring possibility into my story in order to shift my state of being? And by shifting my state of being, I can shift my circumstance. All right, y'all. I think that's enough for this one. It's just the little stuff, as we like to do here. And I'm going to try and do these more consistently, more often. So follow me, follow along, follow the journey, reach out, let me know how it's going for you. And I'll see you soon.